Now the recording should, let me make sure, okay. What will happen is that the recording will be converted into a YouTube video and will live on the district's website. We will get that link and everything to you once that is live. For anybody who was not able to be here this evening, as well as if anybody wants to go back and hear some details a second time. Jen is helping to monitor chat, as is Nurse Amy. And anything, they can respond to questions in chat as we go, but I'm also at the tail end of this, we're going to have a full question and answer session. So here we go. Talked about language interpretation, and this is what we're doing tonight. We will start with anchoring in our land acknowledgement. Have school information for you. Talk about a day in the life of your student for those who are coming on campus. Go over COVID-19 health and safety protocols, and then have a question and answer time. Let's start with our land acknowledgement. We acknowledge the original inhabitants of this place, the Snohomish people, and their successors, the Tulalip tribes, who since time immemorial have taken care of, hunted, fished, and gathered on these lands. We respect their sovereignty, their right to self-determination, and we honor their sacred spiritual connection with the land and water. By acknowledging these homelands, we commit to working with tribal nations to further the education aims they have identified in our classrooms and schools. So, welcome. I appreciate you taking time out of your Monday evening to spend here learning a little bit more. Specifically tonight, we'll have a staffing update. There's quite a bit of staffing changes. Talk about the classroom student experience and COVID protocols. The meeting is being recorded, and there will be a Q&A time at the end of tonight's session. So starting with our calendar, which we know is different, a little bit different from the main Edmonds School District calendar. Next week is the fall WSLP meetings, which will happen September 7th through 10th via Zoom. You'll notice I didn't say fall face-to-face because it's a bit of a misnomer when you're via Zoom. So we decided to call them fall WSLP meetings. The first day of on-campus learning for Edmonds Heights is September 15th. And as a reminder, we are on a different calendar. That calendar was published with you. And if it has not been shared, it will be very soon. Can't remember where we are on that. And I'll explain the reason for the different calendar. Our teachers, as you know, work 4 long days versus 5 regular days, which is the typical contract in Edmonds. And the reason for this is that Friday is set aside for families to be doing home learning adventures, field trips, other things. And so we have them Monday through Thursday of instruction. But what happens when we have Monday through Thursday of instruction, quite often, teacher professional development falls on a Friday. So that becomes an extra work day for teachers. So when there's an extra work day for teachers, we need to adjust our calendar to make up for that so that we're staying within their contracted week and year. That's the reason for it. So as a reminder, we have 2 different platforms that we use. You all know ALE, because you're in there doing registration right now. That's where you're doing your WSLPs, you're finding class information, curriculum resources, and so much more. But another really important platform for any Edmonds School District family is Skyward. Skyward is Edmonds' database system for families to access student educational records and school information. So even though ALE is your primary interface, Skyward is an essential tool in Edmonds, and here's an example of how it's an essential tool in terms of making sure families have everything up to date in Skyward. When we send out the newsletter via the school messenger system, we're sending that using the Skyward database. So you want to make sure that your information is correct and accurate in Skyward. That's also if there's an emergency and you're not on campus, that's where we find that information. So here's a little experience I had last year when we did not have accurate information in Skyward. We had a student in the classroom who presented with COVID symptoms. And that was early on when we had all of our students coming back to school and most of the other Edmonds School District schools. And we had to send every child in that classroom home. But we did not have an updated home and work phone number for a family. And so we had a child who had to sit and wait in the office all day long because we couldn't get a hold of a parent. And the cell phone had been turned off for meetings. So please make sure your information is accurate in Skyward. If you have any questions on how to do that, you can call the office and we will help you with that. All right. So what is the learning plan if your student is out sick or needs to isolate or quarantine during COVID-19? Your student will receive assignments to complete at home. They won't automatically revert to Zoom. So if your child is on campus to learn, but needs to stay home to quarantine due to COVID or is sick, they're not going to be able to access learning via Zoom. So the teacher won't be teaching on Zoom and in person at the same time. But the teacher will help keep your student up to date with anything that they missed in class and provide that information. If the Department of Health asks us to have an entire classroom or school quarantine, then we will revert to remote learning. Do I have details on that? Not really. I've done it. I've managed a school in remote learning. The adults in the school will make it work for the kids, but I don't have the details for that this evening. Students will bring their Chromebooks home with them each day. It's important that you, in case your student becomes ill or needs to be quarantined, that they have access to that learning, which is available in their Chromebook. And so if for some reason at the end of the day, we find out that there's reason to quarantine or ask every student in a classroom to stay home, we may not know that before a student goes home. So that's why they have to keep their Chromebooks. I'm going to go to just some Edmonds Heights stuff really quickly. We have a lot of wonderful new staff to introduce to you, to say see you soon to, and to say farewell to. And one that didn't make it on this list is Marianne Costello, who gets to do something she's wanted to do for a long time, which is live and work on the east side of the state in Eastern Washington, where they have a cabin. So she will be working in an ALE program in Wenatchee. Micaiah Marzano, high school science teacher, is taking a leave of absence for the first semester. Christina Federighi Miles is taking a half-time leave of absence. And Barbara Hathaway is taking a leave of absence for the year. Barbara Hathaway's leave of absence came late in the planning, so we have not been able, we could not reliably assure our community that we would have an ASL instructor, which is why we're not offering ASL first semester, but we're going to get to work to have that back on for second semester, hopefully. So here's the new staff. High school science, we're interviewing tomorrow. I will have a name to introduce to everybody soon. Josh Herman coming to us. He will be our middle school English teacher, tied to Christina's leave of absence. Aaron Laird is our new high school social studies teacher. Vicki Sargent is here teaching 4th through 8th grade. And Karen Pollock will be here to teach French. And if you haven't yet seen our newsletter, folks gave us a wonderful introduction to themselves, and you can read more about them in that. So back to COVID, back to school, and all of that fun stuff. So what is a day in the life of your student going to be like for those of you whose students are coming in person? A lot will be the same. Yes, there will be some differences, but our goal is to keep this a lot the same for kids as much as possible. I think it's the responsibility for the adults in the room to keep a stable learning environment for the kids. So what's the same? Individualized learning that includes homeschool, co-op homeschool, workshops, and classes from certificated teachers. Teachers are teaching in person. Our office tech and custodial team is same in here. And what hasn't changed is that everyone on campus is 100% invested in our students. Okay, so this is something that you all know, and we're going to get into this, and we'll have more questions at the tail end. Edmonds Heights tradition and requirement has been that parents are required to be on campus with students at least up through age 12. What that means is that unenrolled siblings, younger siblings, have traditionally been on campus with the parent who is here. Recent Department of Health guidelines have impacted this tradition and requirement. Edmonds School District, of which Edmonds Heights is a part, is required to follow Department of Health guidelines, which state that only enrolled children whose immunization records are on file or who have a certified exemption may be on campus. I know that this has a big impact on our family. To know me is to know that I'm a rule follower, but it's to also know that I will question every single way I can to allow us to follow the rule and follow what is the tradition here. Some of the things that I've asked about is, can families just be in the courtyard? No, I asked. Can we pitch a tent and have families bring camp chairs, just one of those big old wedding reception tents? I asked. No, we can't. We have problem solved a lot of different ways. I've worked with Leadership Council, and they are open to hearing ideas, and they're welcome to hear ideas and folks who want to be problem solvers for this. So I'm going to put in chat, if you don't have it, the email address for Leadership Council, which is ehk12lc@gmail.com. If you would like to be part of the problem solvers, or if you have an idea, feel free to reach out to them. This rule applies to all non-enrolled children, including babes in arms. And yes, I asked. I said, yeah, what if they're just in the pouch with mom? Can we do that? Not according to Department of Health guidelines. So, where may parents be? A parent may go to their child's class with them. We have our auditorium set up for the parent to wait. For the we have some space in the library. We will make sure that we're maintaining capacity and room for kids to be in there too, if needed. The breezeways are available. The play field over by the baseball field, that's available, and parents can wait in their cars. But in terms of parents coming on campus with their child, one parent per child, and these are the places where a parent may wait with their child. We're thinking of how parents check in so that we know if we need to get in touch with you, where to find you. Details will come. We're working on that piece. Okay, drop off and pickup. We're already thinking about what drop off and pickup will look like given the younger sibling change. I know that impacts families' abilities to park and walk their child in. We're planning to have staff available at drop off and pickup to help welcome kids and get them safely where they need to go. There will be more details. I'll probably put together a really cheesy welcome back video that walks through what protocols are, what's going to look like when people arrive, and what the classroom will be like. And that will be available before September 15th. My goal is by the end of next week, I have that to families. Question: what will classrooms look like? They may look a little different. The Department of Health guidelines are that students must be seated in rows, facing the same direction, and 3 feet apart. The rationale is that cuts down on aerosols that are in the face of another person or a child. There will be opportunities for students to do group work in classrooms. Last year, I loved finding the creative ways that teachers found to be able to do group work and maintain safe physical distancing. So we will be working on that with our staff and thinking of creative ways to do that. Staff can always bring kids outside as well to do some stuff. So this is, I want to show you some sample photos. At the entrance to every classroom, we have a sanitation station. There is hand sanitizer. There are masks if a child has forgotten their mask. A variety of things. There's wipes to clean off desks, everything to keep the environment as clean as possible. A child is going to walk into class, sanitize their hands, have a seat. And then as they walk out of class, sanitize their hands, go to the next class. Will they sanitize their hands and have a seat? And we'll get those protocols down. It's amazing how it becomes second nature pretty quickly. I remember last year we had a developmental preschool on our campus, and we had 4-year-old children who we were worried about masking. We had 3-year-old children being worried about being able to keep their masks on. And at our deaf and hard of hearing preschool, we did not have a hard time with that. Our students pretty quickly got used to that, and it was second nature to them. That being said, start practicing with the mask now if kids have not been wearing them very often.
Kathleen, this is Amy. We have a couple of questions about a previous slide and having younger siblings on campus.
Yes.
Are you able to revisit those right now?
Is this the...
Can unenrolled children be in parents' cars in the parking lot with their parents?
Absolutely. Yes, they may.
And then we have another question that I might be able to help answer too. Is there a chance the sibling rule will change for second semester? And that was from Naphtali D. And, you know, I wouldn't say that there isn't a chance, but I wouldn't say the chance is real good.
And I'll add on to that, because the rationale for the children is being in the building is because of the immunization piece.
And it's COVID related, and I don't anticipate that second semester will be out of surges and not worried about that at that time.
And the part with just even being on campus and in the breezeways, that is the COVID piece, and we have to really cut down on that. And I'll explain why. And I actually was explaining this in another meeting earlier today, and somebody said it might help if you explain this to parents. I am a rule follower on these health things, and I'll explain why. I would love to say, you know what, we're just going to give it a wink and a nod. Nobody's going to know. We'll make it happen. But what if somebody got sick? Because I didn't follow the rules set out for us. And what if a lot of people got sick because someone was asymptomatic, a child was asymptomatic, we didn't know about it, they were here, and we had several get sick? That's on me, because I let us not follow the rules, and we have to. It's for everybody's safety that we do it. And I don't know what I would do if I did that and somebody got really sick because I broke the rule on it.
So to answer that question then, Kathleen, can unenrolled children be on the field, breezeways, parking lot, in the car with their parents? Unenrolled children can be in the car in
Correct.
the parking lot, but they cannot be anywhere else on campus.
Correct.
They can't be on the field. They can't be in the breezeways. Can enrolled siblings be with a parent on campus while other siblings are in class?
Yes, because we would have vaccination status for them.
Okay.
Nurse Amy would have that vaccination information. And they can be on that field out there that the community uses as a dog park. That's available. That's way outside and it's away from campus. That is an option. If there's hanging in your car with them and I remember when my kids were younger, they can only sit in a car for so long. If they got to go get those wiggles out and run around, you can run them around that play area, not the play area, the field.
And then can unenrolled children be on the campus playground? And the answer to that is no.
No.
And then Beth Bomar asks, parents do not have to submit immunization records. Why is it different for siblings? And Beth, I believe that's because parents are considered an educator for your child on campus. And so that's different than as a student.
And I will say parents are not allowed in any other school on our campus. Because parents here are considered educators because we're a parent partnership. We can have one parent per family here at Edmonds Heights.
And the final question here is, where on campus can parents and enrolled siblings be while waiting?
They may be in their child's class. They may be in the auditorium, the library, in the breezeways, at the play field, or in their cars.
Sorry, a couple more.
Yeah.
If parents are considered educators, do parents have to comply with the state vaccine mandate? I believe the answer to that, Shoshana, is no, because you're not an employee of the state.
Mm-hmm.
And then Jordan Williams, is there any info about babes and arms and newborns? And Jordan, unfortunately, they are not allowed on campus. And this is not just at our school either. This is at any school in the district. Okay.
Amy, I did have one more question about, are students required to use hand sanitizer?
No, students are not required to use hand sanitizer. Some people are allergic to it. You can always use soap and water.
So what I would encourage your child is and absolutely, we don't want them using a product that could make them ill. Have them work on getting in the habit of frequently, like between classes, going in and washing their hands with warm soapy water, doing that 20-second thorough wash before they go to their next class, and just getting into that routine. All right. See any more questions, or should we go on?
By auditorium, do you mean the lunchroom?
No, right next to the lunchroom where we have our musical theater productions. And I actually just learned that expression myself. I just called it where they do the theater productions. Now I know there's a phrase for it. It's the auditorium.
Okay, I think we're okay for a minute.
Okay. Moving on. So we've talked about the masks are required inside and outside while on campus at all times. I will put this in the cheesy welcome back video that I do, and I'll have a PowerPoint with it, and maybe a PowerPoint that's narrated. I haven't figured that out. But what I recommend is that a child have 2 baggies in their backpack, one clean and empty, and another one with at least one, if not more, clean masks for them, so that they can be, if they've had a PE class or they've been talking a lot, that mask can get a little moist, and they'll want to change that and take that dirty mask off, put it in the empty baggie, and pull a clean mask out. We will have backup masks if we need to. Some children find those uncomfortable and prefer a mask from home, a cloth mask. So I recommend doing that. Before arriving at school or a district building, check yourself for symptoms and stay home if you feel sick or if your child feels sick. These are the conversations that I got to have at drop off last year. Parent dropping off and the child saying, I don't feel well. Can you tell me what's not feeling well? I'm sorry, Dad. you need to bring him home because he is exhibiting symptoms which may be associated with COVID. So here's a question that often comes that I would get. What if my kid always gets headaches and they wake up in the morning and they have a headache again? Does that mean they always have to stay home? We're looking at new symptoms. So for example, for me, I get frequent migraines. I know what that feels like. And when I have that really bad headache, I know what it is. And so when I was doing attestations before I went to work in the morning last year, I didn't count that as a new symptom. Or if you have, or something like that. So if your child has seasonal allergies and is always a little, excuse the phrase, snotty, if it's not a new symptom, then that's fine. It's new symptoms that you want to be alert for. And fever at any time. There is a COVID handbook, and we will put the link in the newsletter next that goes out next. And it's always updated on a regular basis. So even if you're the type of person who wants something to hold on to and print, just know that the next week it may be out of date and you'll want to go back and check the website again. Daily health checks. We are not doing the digital daily health checks at this time. Families check, staff are expected to do the same health check when they come in. You know, our teachers and educators are warriors. I got a cold, I'll be fine. I get to have those tough conversations and say, well, if you think you're sick, you need to stay home because we want to keep everybody well. COVID symptoms, fever, anything over 100.4 Fahrenheit, cough. Again, is it a change? If it's a child with asthma or a chronic cough, is it a change in symptoms? So Amy, do you want to talk about this more than I? Because you can probably speak to this better than I.
I would just go down the list of symptoms here. Just fever, cough, and if you have a chronic cough, just any change in your cough from your baseline, shortness of breath or difficulty breathing, and that can be subtle. And if it's subtle, we want you to pay attention to it and stay home. Chills, unusual fatigue, muscle and body aches, and I think one of the other things that we want you to pay attention to is sneezing. And just in general, we want you, new onset headache, sore throat, sudden loss of taste or smell. That's kind of one you've heard about. Congestion or runny nose, unrelated to seasonal allergies or baseline snottiness. Nausea or vomiting and diarrhea. And then another thing that we want to talk about too with related to congestion or runny nose is, you know, it's normal for little people to sometimes have a runny nose, and that's okay. But especially in the time of COVID, we really need kids to maintain good mucus management. And if you have a little person that is really having difficulty with mucus management, we may have to talk about some different strategies for managing that, because we are now in the age of not being able to have students have snot running down your face at school. We just can't be doing that. And it's, you know, it's not good anyway. So we can maybe troubleshoot that. It won't be a problem. We can figure it out. And we have extra masks if anybody gets a yucky mask. So
thank you.
We'll troubleshoot.
Okay. Cleaning and disinfecting. There will be routine cleaning procedures of to prioritize high use areas will be cleaned very frequently, and spaces with a higher risk of generating aerosols, bodily fluids, things like that. Our custodial crew is all over the protocols for this. They have OSHA approved cleaning chemicals to clean the classroom, etc. So OSHA approved means it's not going to harm someone, but it's going to harm the germs. Our HVAC systems have been set to maximize outside air coming in, and the filters have been upgraded. Yes, we are in a really old school. There's a lot of really old schools in the Edmonds School District, and our maintenance team has done an incredible job of making sure that the filters are upgraded to the best degree possible and are changed regularly. They monitor health air quality frequently. Hand hygiene, we talked about hand washing. There's a video. I'll send that out to you. And proper masking. So when I send out the information to go home, it'll have links to these videos. But because I said earlier that I'm a rule follower, I am going to show the masking one. Because I'm supposed to. Okay, can you hear Amy? Are you good? Okay.
Can't hear.
Okay. Okay, we're going to try this again.
You need to know about mask wearing at school. Before you leave for school, be sure to grab a clean mask and 2 or 3 extras to keep with you. You'll also need a bag or a container to put your used masks in if they get dirty and wet while you're at school. That's when those extra masks will come in handy. If you forget your mask or run out of clean masks at school, don't worry. Your school will have an extra for you to wear. Now let's talk about the correct way to put on, wear, and remove your face mask. Step 1. Wash or sanitize your hands. Step 2. Hold your mask by the ear loops when you put it on over your ears. Step 3. Make sure it fits well across your face. The mask needs to be over your nose and under your chin and fit snugly around your face. If your mask has an adjustable piece on the nose, pinch it so it fits really well. Step 4. When your mask gets dirty, wet, or it's time to take it off, remove it by the ear loops. Don't touch the front of the mask. That's where the germs are. Place the mask in a container or in a storage bag that you brought from home for safekeeping. If your mask can be thrown away, put it in the garbage. If your mask is the kind you can reuse, be sure to take it home and wash it. Step 5. This is very important. Make sure after you take your mask off that you wash your hands or use sanitizer to wash those germs away.
Those are the district has made some really great kid-friendly videos, and so I'll be sending those links home to families when I do my bigger information on COVID. All right, limited access in schools. We've talked about this. The office, so the office is available, but for and if you have a question, it is available, but we really have to limit the number of bodies who are coming in. So we ask that if you don't have a question of Zara or in the office, that you not come to the office. Not to be unhospitable, but that's what we need to for our office staff's health. Vaccine required for all school employees. It's also available for anyone over 12. You can go to the Snohomish County Health District's website to learn more. We are able to test for COVID. It's along with mask wearing, it's one of the key mitigation strategies that we have, and testing is available at all schools, including Edmonds Heights. So Amy, do you want to say a little bit more of what that looks like? Or not?
They have I think they have information about it in the COVID health and safety handbook. It's just a basic nasal swab test, and either myself or one of the health paras on campus can do it for you with parent permission, and that's only done if you have symptoms or need to be tested at the request of the health department or because you're symptomatic, and we can test registered students and parents of registered students that are on campus. And it gets sent off, and it's usually back in like 24 to 48 hours. And we'd have to have a signed release from a parent in order to test a student, unless
Thank
the
you.
student's 18.
So for our high school seniors.
Yeah.
Got it. All right. So given theater and everything else, there are performing arts guidelines. Yes, we can be doing theater and song. I'm going to be in music. I'm going to be meeting with Dorothy and to talk about theater and what the health protocols are for that. So we're all over that piece and working on making sure that's in place. For any student who's doing athletics, or middle school or high school student at their neighborhood high school, at this time, there is fall athletics. And key dates are available either through the neighborhood school where they're doing sports or on the school's website. And here's just some last things. Free breakfast and lunch is continuing. This was something that was last year through a grant that we received. Any child who is here may have a free lunch. It's a prepackaged lunch. There will be menus available of what's being served, but free breakfast and lunch are available for all students at any time at any of our campuses. And looks like menu information is available starting today. Does your family need financial support? Yes, there are free meals, but there are also additional benefits. If your family qualifies for free and reduced meals, please, or if you think you may qualify, if you have never qualified before, please fill out an application for that so that you can get all of the benefits and the support for your family that's possible, including reduced cost internet. We did that several times last year with our families. It was quite a help to them. Again, here we go. There we can get the application, and I'll try to remember to link that next time we do a newsletter and do something about that. And Edmonds School District is hiring. They are hiring. We need bus drivers and we need food service workers. So please, if that has your name on it, please apply. When the world shut down on March 12th, 2020, a date that I will never forget as an educator, we tried hard to keep all of our food service and bus drivers on as employees, but by the time fall rolled along, we were not able to do that. So we're hiring back, and some people have moved on to other positions. So we do need to hire. And there we go. I am going to stop sharing screen. And any more questions, put those in the chat.
Kathleen, we do have a couple up above. I'd love for you to address. Ann Bazan asks, will there be less students enrolled in each class to accommodate the distancing requirement?
Oh, that's a great question. At 3-foot distancing, we can maintain the same classroom numbers that we had before, which I believe are 12 for younger kids up through 18 or 20 for older kids. We are able to seat them 3 feet apart and keep them physically distanced at the same class sizes.
Another question, will teenagers be able to eat their lunch on campus? If so, is there a place for them to do so?
We have the lunchroom. And the lunchroom guideline is 3 to 6 foot distancing, all facing the same direction. So I'm just here to tell you right now, lunch is no fun in the time of COVID, but kids still find a way to do it. One of my favorite things to do last year was hang out in the lunchroom with the kids. They're fine with that. They get their lunches, they do the distancing, they follow those rules, and they're great. So yes.
Great. And then Another for physical distancing, how does that work? Getting in and out of the classroom when kids have to get to another class quickly? Will there be a lineup of kids waiting to use hand sanitizer? And
Yes, there will be. We'll have kids lined up outside waiting for every child to have exited. And then the kids come in and sanitize and come in. It goes smoothly. It truly does. I had middle school students returning last year who had a 5-minute class passing period, and their classes were sometimes quite distanced. They were able to get from one class to the next, sanitize their hands, and be seated in class when it was ready to start.
will we be doing any routine testing of students and staff?
No. The only time we do the COVID test is if somebody is presenting with symptoms and we need to confirm if it is COVID. Is that correct, Amy?
Yeah, and then I think that we would be doing what would be considered routine testing if you were a vaccinated individual that had an exposure and you were quarantining, and then on day 5 to 7 you were supposed to retest again to see if you hadn't had any symptoms and you were going to retest again. We could retest you at school. So that's not like a scheduled retest, and we'd be doing it with your permission, but that's the only kind of unscheduled testing we'd be doing. Routine testing, sorry. It's almost my bedtime.
Parents can accompany their kids to class. Does that mean just drop off, or can parents stay also?
Either. Because that is part of this program. That is the parent partnership piece, is that parents may be in class, but you'll be sitting 3 feet away from your parent buddies in the back of the room, and 3 feet away from kids. But yes, absolutely. That part of this will not change.
Great. What about Lego team class? This relies on parent support. How might this work, especially with a team class? Are parents going to need to be in a chair facing forward also? It's
going to happen very creatively. I will have an answer for that by the time Lego team class starts. I got to tell you right now, it's coming so fast and furious. I'm figuring out what has to be done, what's on fire, and what's simmering on the back burner. Right now, that's simmering on the back burner, but next week it moves up and we'll be working on it.
Can parents eat in the lunchroom with their children? Yes, they can, correct?
3-foot distance from other families. So a parent and child can sit closer to each other, but then 3-foot distance from another family unit.
Okay. If a middle schooler has a gap in their schedule, where can they be on campus?
The library, which is, we're trying to keep the library for students who are here on campus to be there, and more of parents in the auditorium.
Great. And then if a teacher tests positive for COVID, will their classes be closed, or is there a substitute or online?
I'm thinking through my answer on this. It's complicated. The class will not be it. I don't know, because everything is changing so rapidly. A week ago, I would have said no. But the students who were in the front of class would have to be contact traced. So anytime, so I'll tell you what the protocols are. Anytime somebody presents with or tests positive, we contact trace. And so anybody who has been within 3 feet of the individual who tests positive for more than, I think it's 15 minutes, Amy, or 10 minutes? 15 minutes needs to be noted. So we do the contact tracing on that. And if the person tests positive and somebody was within proximity for those 15 minutes, then they would have to quarantine and to see if they test positive or not. So that's not every child, but maybe some children. And I don't know if that means we would close the entire class. That protocol has not been developed at this time.
Will there be paraeducators available to accompany younger students, going between classes and the lunchroom parking lot?
We're working on that. Yes. And we're working on that because it is completely recognized that what makes this campus, what makes dropping off a young child at Edmonds Heights different from dropping off a child at Madrona or Beverly or Meadowdale or anywhere, is that all children, elementary children, are going to be in the same class all day long. That is not the case at Edmonds Heights. Fully recognized. By the time your child arrives on September 15th, we will have a full-blown plan in place. By the time I send you either the handy dandy narrated PowerPoint or cheesy video at the end of next week, that plan will be in place so that you will know what our plan is.
Excellent. If we try a class and it's not working, how long do we have to make the decision to drop it?
Oh, I need somebody more experienced than I to answer that one.
Well, I mean, I'll jump in. Certificated teacher classes, really, the add drop class option is open. For workshops where a fee is being paid, you have within 2 weeks to drop that class and have a prorated refund. And then after that, the amount is taken out of your student allocation. So you can drop it within 2 weeks and be refunded minus those 2 weeks. But for cert classes, really add drops will turn on September 14th, and you may try a class for a week or two and adjust your schedule in Ally and with your advisor if you would like.
Okay, how are we doing on questions?
Any limitation on gathering outside by the playground for parents or kids?
Enrolled children may be on the playground equipment. They have to maintain physical distancing.
And they have to be masked.
Correct, at all times.
Parents and children have to be masked at all times, inside and outside. And the outside part is a little bit newer, so that's why I bothered to mention it.
Yeah, I mean, in the recent what I know and what I don't know, I said they didn't have to be masked outside, but now they do.
Yeah. And it'll probably change again, so.
It's a
Oh,
changing
cool.
landscape. Okay.
Jordan Williams wants to know if a younger kiddo has a gap in their schedule, where can we stay on campus with them? As long as they're an enrolled sibling, you can be on the playground, in the breezeway, in the library. Is that right?
Yep. So if someone is, I just opened chat too. If someone at home is sick, but enrolled kids aren't, should we keep the kids home? If you suspect that somebody in the home may have COVID and your child has been in close proximity, I would keep your child home until that person tests negative. Correct, Amy? Or
yes.
yes?
It's complicated. There's some nuances there, but it depends on whether or not you're immunized. Snohomish Health District gives you some leeway. So we're in Snohomish County, so I have to defer to what Snohomish County Health District tells me to say. I know that some of you live in King County. So if somebody in your home tests positive, it depends on what your health district says. And so it can be different depending on the immunization status of the people in your house. But in general, yes, if people are sick, we want them to stay home. But if people at home are ill and the person that wants to come to school is immunized and is asymptomatic, there are some situations where it may be okay for them to be at school. And the bottom line is you can contact me and ask.
Thank you.
Mhm.
I'm gonna let Gretchen have the last word because I want to honor your time and it's 7 o'clock. Gretchen, I do understand that you would want to be notified even if your child wasn't in close proximity. Unfortunately, due to privacy laws, we cannot contact trace the whole room. We can only contact trace those who were in proximity. And I do understand that. Okay. Edmonds Heights community, thank you so much for hanging out and hanging through this long presentation. You had incredibly great questions, and I'm glad that you were here to ask those questions. Jeanette, you have your hand raised.
My hand raised. Quick comment. I want to say for those who are interested in helping to troubleshoot as part of the LC, I encourage you to attend our first LC meeting, which will happen on September 9th at 12:30 p.m. We usually get to community discussion towards the end of the meeting, so that would probably be at 1:15, 1:30.
Thank you. All right, all. You have a fabulous Monday evening, and we'll see you later. Bye.